Okay, the fall is getting deeper actually. It's 222 points lower on the Nifty right now. We are very close to being below the 23,900 mark as well. And it's led by what we are seeing in the banking space. And other than that, if we look at some of the stocks which have fallen this hour itself, Trent is one of them. We have Britannia, which is seeing further cuts, Asian Paints. So some of these consumption names are looking at some pressure which has come by as well. In terms of the big fall, it's HUL again, which is at the day's low. We have Bajaj Auto, ITC, some of these names which are putting pressure on the Nifty as well. And ICICI Bank as well is under pressure. But we have to talk about the other Nifty company, Hindalco. Quarter two aluminium EBITDA came in above estimates, while its copper EBITDA beat expectations. My colleague Nigel D'Souza caught up with Satish Pai, the managing director of the company, and began by asking him about aluminium pricing and alumina as well. Listen in.
First, I have to remind you that the average aluminium price for the second quarter was $2,358. So not very far from what I had predicted. So I think that, currently it is running between 25 and 2,600 because there is a sense of optimism regarding the China stimulus and its effects, the fact that the US economy is doing very well. And also because I keep repeating the supply and demand of aluminium continues to be quite tight. So which is why the aluminium prices are being supported at this higher range. One other important point is also the fact that alumina prices are at all-time high, $600 to $700 a ton. And that also has a positive impact on the prices of aluminium.
Got it. Focusing on alumina, what proportion of your total production of alumina do you sell in the open market? If you could give us a rough number.
So we sell 700,000 tons of alumina. Our total production is about 3.7 million tons of alumina. And on the third-party market, we sell about 700,000 tons a year.
Got it. Let's focus on the copper business. You have been guiding that the copper EBITDA per quarter should hover in the range of around 600 crores odd. But in this quarter, it was the highest that we have ever seen. Was there an element of some derivative gains out there? Could you explain it to us? What was that number? And what is the quarterly run rate we should work with from here on?
So I think that this quarter was very good for multiple reasons. One of the things was copper demand was good. Our operations were very stable. We got very good premiums on the copper rod and downstream products of copper that we sold. Gold sales was at an all-time high. Sulfuric acid prices were also pretty strong. And as you mentioned, we also had a one-time derivative. So I think that I would continue to say that our guidance on the quarterly is still around 600 to 650 crores. You continue every quarter to have a little bit of noise from an accounting point of view.
All right. What was the quantum of the derivative gain in the past quarter?
I think that I would rather leave it that, we believe that every quarter we would be around 600 to 650.
Interesting. All right. What about Novelis? The street is a little bit disappointed that you withdrew that guidance. Earlier, we were factoring around $525 per ton. Tell us for the second half of the year, the worst case scenario, what will Novelis's EBITDA per ton look like? And for FY26, since we'll be having some capacities that will come on stream, and you have indicated that things will improve from here on. So what is the rough number we work with for Novelis's EBITDA per ton?
So the first thing we have to note is that Novelis had quite a good second quarter. Compared to all its competitors, it did pretty well. If you normalize for that Sierre flooding event, their EBITDA per ton was 502. Their absolute EBITDA was 487. So Novelis, compared to its competitor and overall, had a good second quarter. Now, looking ahead, why did we pause the guidance on the EBITDA per ton is because of scrap spreads. China has now removed restrictions on any scrap coming into the country. And hence, there has been a huge buying of scrap by Chinese players from our markets like Mexico, US, and Europe, which is why the scrap spreads have tightened. So which is why we are saying that for the next couple of quarters, we'll have to see till this situation stabilizes. And hence, we are on a wait and watch as far as EBITDA per ton guidance goes.
Worst case scenario, what will the EBITDA per ton look like? And for FY26, hopefully this concern on spreads will cool off. So where is the EBITDA per ton headed?
So I think that, the EBITDA per ton is impacted negatively by scrap spreads. But I also have to remind you that market conditions are also slowly improving. So as we sell more volumes, we will get, we are today selling about 950 KT per quarter. We are expecting it next year to get closer to 1 million. So I think that, on an EBITDA per ton, we'll still be in that $500 per ton ballpark range.
Okay, got it. So fair to assume, though, with the current uncertainty for the time being, the Novelis's IPO is put on the back burner and we shouldn't hear about it, say, in the next 6 to around 12 months?
I wouldn't go as far as 12 months.
Okay, so 6 months is what we can assume. What about the Capex number? Could you tell us how much have you all spent and how much are you looking to spend in the second half of the year?
So the more important thing is now that, we announced during our earnings results and our calls, if you see, that Hindalco India is going to go on a growth on the upstream side. If you remember now, for the last 3-4 years, we have been investing heavily in both aluminium and copper downstream. Now, the next phase of growth in the next 3 years is going to be in the upstream. So we are committing to spend roughly $4 to $5 billion over the next 3 years. And that's going to be, we have announced an alumina refinery in Odisha and a copper recycling plant in Dahej. And now we are announcing a smelter expansion brownfield in Odisha and a copper smelter expansion in Dahej. So $1 billion each. So really the big story over the next 3 years is going to be a big Capex spend to increase both aluminium and copper upstream capacity.
Got it. So what should the debt number look like then?
So over the next 3 years, right now, the India net debt to EBITDA is negative because, balance sheet is clean. We have 12,000 crores of treasury. So over the next 3 years, when we go through this Capex cycle, so mostly funded through own cash accruals, and our calculation is that we will probably borrow about $1 billion to $1.5 billion over the next 3 years. So, net debt to EBITDA will still remain well below 1 or 1.5, but we will be borrowing about $1 billion, $1.5 billion to fund this Capex growth that I just outlined.
All right, the Adani Group has also suddenly sent some sound waves that they want to be rather aggressive in the metal space. What do you have to say about that? Enough for everyone? Or will a new player, forcing their way into the metals market put some pressure?
I think that I would say that we are very, very optimistic about the India growth that's happening. We are very optimistic to see the aluminium and copper demand that is growing in the country. In fact, both of them are growing at double digits year on year right now. And we also believe that most of our expansions, if you note, are brownfield, which means that the execution risk is much lower. So we are very comfortable that we will be able to execute our strategy in India.
Okay, and any interest in Hindustan Copper? We have been chatting about it, Mr. Pai. When the stock was 250 rupees, it went dancing away to 400 rupees. It's back around 270 rupees. Have you heard something from the government with regard to their intent?
I think, as we say, if it comes, we are always interested and will take a look. But probably you need to start to ask the question to the government and Hindustan Copper rather than me now.
Well, some very important commentary coming in from Hindalco. The stock has cooled off from the day's highest point. But let's now slip into a short break. We'll get you more on the markets and stock-specific action on the other side. Stay tuned.